A row over delayed COVID-19 vaccine deliveries between the European Union and AstraZeneca has deepened. The EU has now published a copy of its contract with the drugmaker. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen says the contract contains binding orders and is crystal clear. She's demanded an explanation for the hold-up. The EU says AstraZeneca can only deliver 31 million of the 100 million doses expected by the end of March. The drugmaker has blamed production problems on Belgium. At the same time, the EU is threatening to block vaccine exports, and that could affect the flow of Pfizer-BioNTech doses into the UK. The bloc is expected to publish the criteria for blocking exports in the next few hours. Lucy Hoff joins us live from Brussels for more on this. Lucy, tell us, this reaction by the EU, they've come out very strongly against AstraZeneca.
They sure have, and that extraordinary chain of events that you were just outlining there this week, as this row has really escalated, and that contract that was signed off between the EU and AstraZeneca, now published around an hour ago, with AstraZeneca's permission to do that, although it is a heavily redacted document, not least the information about the cost and delivery targets, which have been sort of put away in black from that document. But what we do have some useful information about is the definition of this term, best reasonable efforts, that is key to the row between the EU and AstraZeneca. Essentially, what the EU is saying is that the obligations that AstraZeneca signed up to when it signed this contract on delivery targets are crystal clear and binding. So AstraZeneca needs to do everything it can to deliver those targets, regardless of the circumstances around that. But what AstraZeneca is saying is that they signed up to a document to supply those delivery targets as a best reasonable effort, i.e. they weren't binding to those specific numbers. We know that AstraZeneca was supposed to deliver 100 million doses in the first quarter, but the EU is set to receive just around a quarter of that. And that is what has led to this furious row with supply shortages here in Europe. So with this document now out in the open, we will get some more information. There is also reference in this document about the use of UK facilities, which has been another point of contention. The EU is saying that that AstraZeneca should be using facilities not just here in Europe, but also in the UK, in order that AstraZeneca can meet those contractual demands. That has been disputed by AstraZeneca, and it does appear on first reading of that document that there is specific reference to the use of UK facilities that could mean that AstraZeneca has some questions to answer about that.
Well, the EU is also threatening to block vaccine exports. So can they do that?
Well, yes, it seems that this is what they intend to do as a means of basically controlling or having greater scrutiny over what is leaving the bloc, in what quantities, and when those exports are being shipped out, amid concerns that exports could be affecting the delivery targets that the EU has signed off with pharmaceutical companies like AstraZeneca and Pfizer. This is a mechanism whereby pharmaceutical firms will have to alert authorities in the EU about export deliveries and give the specific quantities. It does give the EU powers potentially to block exports if indeed those deliveries don't meet the criteria, which is being laid out by the European Commission in proposals that are due to be unveiled today. The bill will then be put through it within a matter of hours. It has led to some concern, particularly in the UK, that could lead to shortages outside of the EU. There's been warnings from analysts in the UK saying that this could lead to millions of doses not being delivered to the UK, particularly of the Pfizer-BioNTech shot, that could push back herd immunity targets for British citizens. So a tricky issue, but again, one the EU says this is not about an export ban, but rather this is a mechanism to allow greater transparency and to perhaps give them that power to limit exports if indeed it will affect the rollout of the vaccine here in Europe.
Yes, and while the wrangling continues on, AstraZeneca's vaccine is due to be approved shortly. That will certainly help to move things along, won't it?
It certainly will. But again, the AstraZeneca vaccine running into some trouble here in Europe, with Germany's vaccine committee deciding to block the use of that vaccine for anyone above the age of 65, citing concerns about the lack of data for that older age group in the clinical trials. There has been, again, a bit of a row about this, what that data was that was in the clinical trials. But it does appear that Germany, clearly a powerhouse in Europe, deciding to limit the rollout of that vaccine in their older, most vulnerable citizens could impact the decision that the European Medicines Agency takes today. We are being told that authorization is likely and that the rollout will begin in the coming days. But again, there is the potential that Germany's decision could impact what is rolled out around Europe.
Okay, thanks for getting us up to speed, Lucy. Lucy Hoff speaking to us from Brussels.